Hello and welcome to Move the Line, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm Ryan Noonan here with my friend, as always, Connor Allen, unpacking Super Bowl 59. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, not much. You said 50 something, and I was like, what Super Bowl is it? I kind of forgot off the top of my head, and then Super Bowl LIX, 59. Yeah, I don't. It's an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I know we haven't talked much about it. We did both tag team Ed Fang's show yesterday. Shout out to Ed and Power Rank. So I think I have some thoughts. Obviously, you have a fantastic preview on the site here, 444.com. People need to check that out if they have not already. An extensive breakdown that Connor has been doing for. You were probably in high school the first time you wrote that thing, right? Like probably not that far off, to be honest. It's like a joke and a bit on the show, but like you probably were 19 or something, right?
I was 18. Yeah, I was 18. So yeah, it was my freshman year of college, I think, is the first year I wrote it. So because my birthday's late, so I was in college at 18. So
it's amazing. I've had a pretty good record of picking the winner. And again, I want to give you kudos for picking this as your preseason Super Bowl matchup. So shout out to you. I felt pretty good about this all season. I was a Chiefs-Lions pick. That seemed okay. And then that obviously was a house of cards that fell apart, obviously, as the Lions, defense did for sure. But hey, here we are. I don't think you went to the well on that. You probably could have got like 40 to 50 to 1 on Super Bowl matchups preseason.
It was like 55-1, and I don't think I bet it. Like, I don't know why I didn't. I bet like basically everything that I say on every show just because of this exact reason, that nothing makes me more mad than getting something right and not winning money on it. And this is one of those exact scenarios. There are people though that I saw that bet like Chiefs over Eagles, Eagles over Chiefs, like preseason at like 50-1. I'm like, how much other shit did you bet? Like, to me, I'm just like, that's like, obviously congrats on the nice number, but like, that's kind of crazy that you actually have like multiple variations of this.
Yeah. Shout out Mayo. Pat Mayo, I know has done that. I think he's holding both tickets for this. So,
that's wild. That is crazy.
Like, who cares, right? You're already in pocket. I mean, you can just get kind of wonky with props and have yourself a hell of a day, regardless of what happens on Sunday. So yeah, people need to check out Connor's preview again on the site. Very extensive preview. Obviously getting into the weeds on both sides of the ball. When the Chiefs have the ball, when the Eagles have the ball, all those different things too. If you like to bet tackles, I have a preview going long on everyone that's on the board on the tackle and assist side. Those numbers are cooked out a little bit, but you shop around a little bit. You can definitely still some value out there as well as some of our thoughts on the ways that we like to get down. But yeah, let's talk game. We're going to get in on the prop side and get real weird, I'm sure, on the Friday show. Again, our last Friday show of the season will be on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Connor, myself, John Highslop, so come back for that one. I'm sure we'll have specific standard player props, along with obviously the extensive menu of game props and specialties and all the different stuff that's out there now. Starting to get a little bit more consistency across books. There's definitely some that are just harder to find than others, and to be able to match them up on other books. We'll do our best to try to just share some stuff that we like. Again, it might not be everywhere, but hey, do your best and we'll figure the rest of it out. So let's jump into the game. I don't know who you want to start with, who has the ball, but I'll let you take the floor. I know you're prepared to talk about both of these in detail.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, is just like divide it up by offense, defense. Let's start with when the Eagles, have the ball. I think that, we've seen them just like absolutely steamroll teams since their week 5 bye. I thought it was a pretty interesting stat. They've been losing in games with Jalen Hurts in just 2 of 13 games in the fourth quarter for a combined 4 minutes total. So they've basically just been in like nonstop positive game script, extremely dominant. Their defense since that bye has been, borderline elite in a lot of categories. But they have allowed some decent games to opposing quarterbacks, like good quarterbacks, like, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, when he was healthy, had a couple of okay games. Now, they still played well against them. Those were below average games in EPA and everything for those quarterbacks specifically. And a lot of that came on the back of inserting Cooper DeJean in the lineup, as well as, a couple other things. I wandered over the other side of the ball there, while mid chatting here about this bye. But it's to me, it's crazy that this Eagles offense specifically has just been so dominant at running the ball. Jalen Hurts hasn't had to do anything. One of my other preseason picks was Jalen Hurts MVP, and the running game has just been so good that Jalen Hurts has never had to really throw the ball, to be honest. Just one game over 30 attempts since that week 5 bye as well. But I'm interested in these pass catchers. I think that this is going to be an interesting matchup from a passing perspective as well as a running perspective. I think the biggest question that I have is, can the Chiefs stop the Eagles running game? And I'll let you, give your attempt at that one, because I think I have kind of an answer, but not really. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Can they stop the running game? I think they're going to struggle to stop the running game. I think that this is a fantastic run blocking offensive line. They have a diverse rushing attack in terms of what they do schematically. I think they're hard to scheme. I think having Jalen Hurts be a couple more weeks removed from his knee injury helps. I don't think he goes berserk here, but he ran for 70 yards against Spagnuolo in the first Super Bowl matchup 2 years ago. That was with some sort of, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, Kenneth Gainwell combination. And, the threat of obviously having Saquon makes things a little bit more interesting there, and obviously explosive. Saquon's shown just such an insane ceiling, whereas like his hit rate on a 25.5-yard longest rush is like 50-50 this year. 25.5. Like most really good running backs are getting lined in like the high teens. And Saquon's basically a coin flip on basically running at least a quarter of the length of the field at some point in the game. Just insane, right? Crazy. So I think there's something to be said here with, they've had some injuries on the offensive line, but I think, again, them getting 2 more weeks helps. I think this is an offensive line that can struggle in pass protection at times, especially in the interior, but it's a pretty great run unit, maybe Eagles and Detroit in terms of offensive line run game schemes. So we have a couple examples of this, like Jeff Stoutland combination as the run game coordinator and the offensive line coach against Spagnuolo defenses, and both of them have produced like top 15 percentile success rates. One was that Super Bowl where they were able to kind of run all over them. So I don't think they're going to stop them. I think by trying to stop them, they are going to force themselves into more man coverage, single high looks, and that tends to bode well for Jalen Hurts as well. Significantly better against man than he is against zone. And, again, it's a nice secondary that the Chiefs have. But with the way that, I think Dallas Goedert's playing right now, the ability to win on the outside with AJ Brown, I think it's going to be a nice matchup for, interior with Devonta Smith. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the Eagles offense is set up to attack off of the run and do a lot of different things. And I think they're going to have to, force Kansas City's hands to do some things maybe they don't want to do. So, yeah, I think they're going to be able to run, I guess, is the long-winded way of the question you asked.
Yeah, I think if you think that, then you probably lean Eagles on the side, right? Or the money line, right? I would assume.
That's the problem, right? I touched on it at the start of the show with Ed the other day, right? It's like, I don't know how you originate and come to a spot where the Chiefs are the favorite. It doesn't make any sense to me. But there's the whole real, how do you actually quantify the voodoo black magic combination of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? And it's a number that has to go into that equation somehow. Now, Ed told us that he just kind of holds on to preseason priors longer, and I think that that's probably fair. But I don't know what the right way to do it is, right? I just don't know what the right way to do. So I'm not super stoked to run to the money line and grab the Eagles. It feels like the right side. I feel like they have better actual individual matchups everywhere, but like it's a miserable ticket to hold. It's not a fun watch. So I don't know what to do.
I agree. I mean, I was on the Niners last year, and that
Same.
was not fun. I mean, I was not having a good time. I mean, the Niners, again, this is another example of Spags figuring it out. Like the Niners couldn't run the ball. They had an awesome matchup. I think I took Christian McCaffrey overs. He had like 20 carries or whatever. Still couldn't rip it. And the year prior against the Eagles, like that, their collection of running backs combined for 45 yards on 17 carries. They averaged like 2 yards a carry. Now, obviously, Saquon Barkley is significantly different than those guys, but not that much different than Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is awesome. I mean, Saquon Barkley's, I would say, argue a better pure runner, but McCaffrey is also a fantastic running back. So I don't know. It's one of those things where, am I confident that they going to average 2 years? Is he going to average 2 yards per carry? No. If he does, like, the Eagles are going to lose by a lot. But like, could he be just fine? Like, I mean, even against Washington, he had the 60-yard run and then had like 3 yards per carry the rest of the game on 16 carries. So it was one insane run, and then the rest of the game was fine. He did that against Washington prior. Like, I think that there's ways that it's possible that happens. I just think, like, I think the Eagles are too good and the running game is too good for them to be fully stopped. I think I'm just a little more optimistic that they slow them down a little bit. But now, what does that do to the back end? Like you mentioned, it's probably going to force them to play man, force them to play, single high. AJ Brown is just absolutely eaten in those scenarios, like 37% target share, like yards per route runs, like off the charts. And that, I think that's a risk. We saw McDuffie get burned in the Super Bowl 2 years ago by AJ Brown. We saw McDuffie get burned against Mac Hollins last week for like 70 yards deep downfield. Any thoughts on if they put like Jalen Watson more on him? Like, Watson's a little bigger. I mean,
he's a little bigger. Yep.
I mean,
I don't know what they're going to do. It's a great question. I think they're going to want to use second level blitzing as well, because that's something that Jalen Hurts has struggled with too. So I think you're going to be able to see them mix and match, and you could catch. They will rotate occasionally too and use more of their secondary pieces too. So like, Nazeen Johnson, like you'll see some other random guys get a handful of snaps in here too. So can Philly take advantage of those mismatches? But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, AJ Brown, just significantly different performance. Jalen Hurts significantly different against man. He's third in success rate against man, third in EPA per play, where he's 22nd in success rate against zone, 23rd EPA per play against zone coverage. So there's going to be a handful of, maybe, 35 to 50% of snaps in this game, I'm imagining, would probably be against man coverage. And can Hurts take advantage of those opportunities? Can he diagnose them pre-snap and find the ability to take advantage of the occasional one-on-one on the perimeter with an AJ Brown? So that's a huge, huge piece of this game. Now that gets a lot harder if they're not running well, right? If they're selling out Kansas City side works. I don't know. I mean, the tackle rates for both linebackers have been down this season too. So it's not they don't miss a lot of tackles as a defensive unit overall, but I don't know. I don't know what it is here. Again, it was so frustrating to watch the second half of that Buffalo game, especially in the fourth quarter. It's like, where's James Cook? Give him the ball. Every time James Cook's touching the football, he's getting 6, 7, 8 yards on the ground. So it's like, we knew that was going to be the game plan of the Bills, the combination of the quarterback, and Cook and whatever the assortment of running backs that they were going to mix in. They wanted to run the football. That was their best path, and they did it, and they did it with a ton of success. So I don't know what changes game plan wise here for them, but something's got to change. Personnel's not changing because it didn't work against Buffalo.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the interesting part is but when you think about it though, personally, I would much rather stop Josh Allen from passing and let them run a little bit instead of vice versa. Like Jalen Hurts, to me, I would personally, I would much rather, especially with how the season's gone for Jalen Hurts, I would much rather make Jalen Hurts prove it and Kellen Moore just prove it. I don't care. I know the man zone splits. I know all that. I would line up my guys against theirs and blitz him like crazy, and just launch guys at him and see what happens. I don't know, maybe you pay for it, but if I have to sit there and watch Saquon Barkley run 26 times for 160 yards, just what are we doing? Just call it, might as well even play the game. That's literally that's an auto loss if that happens. Basically.
Yeah.
So especially because then Mahomes doesn't have the ball either. I would rather just keep taking shots. If they score, then just give the ball back to Mahomes and let him cook. I mean, then it's you're putting the ball in your best player's hands. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting too much of my own opinion into this probably, but I don't know. It's to me, if they let them do that, I mean, first off, it's going to be a boring ass Super Bowl. It's going to be terrible. It'll be 17-14 or 2017 Eagles, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's a good point. I mean, Spags routinely lauded for his ability to scheme, really wisely, especially with a bye, Andy Reid with a bye. They are a team that is, not stuck in their ways, right? This is our Shanahan issue last year. We were hey, Shanahan's 100%. Just this is what we do, figure it out and stop it. And Chiefs did. Yeah. Whereas Spags is definitely all right, here's what we're going to do this week. Here's where our best opportunities are. So I would imagine that they go in and have a similar mindset to a degree that you're having here. It's like, all right, we can't just do what we do, line up with a normal 7-man box and see if we can just do something that almost no one else has really done this season. That's slow Saquon down. So I think it's a super, super fair point. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, so you're thinking if it's a Eagles dictate, bully the Chiefs, slow it, like not necessarily slow it down, but if, Hurts is conservative, he doesn't take chances with those shots and they want to run the ball a lot, you're thinking that probably leans to an under.
I think it almost certainly leans to an under.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it's just good, like play volume in general. Like it's a 48 point total. You know what I mean? This is like, it's pretty hefty. So,
Yeah.
And the Chiefs, we'll talk about it on the other side here, but like they don't score quickly either. So like this is going to be like, I mean, each team and a half could have like 4 drives and that's it.
That'd be painful. Yeah. It would crush a lot of overs for sure in the game. Yeah. I mean, the second level blitzer thing is what's really, I'm fascinated with. It's also it's kind of a decor of who Spags is. It's what we saw in that final play against Buffalo. They're going to be able to win the occasional matchup traditionally up front. Maybe I think especially in the interior, I think is going to be their best path to getting a pass rush. But what Spags loves to do is just bring that creeper from the edge, cornerback blitz, linebacker that you thought was dropping into coverage. I think that's going to be something that's pretty impactful here. Touched on a little bit yesterday too. It's been a problem for Jalen Hurts. He loves to hold on to the football. Not a unique problem for mobile quarterbacks that love to hold on to the ball, run, create. But Hurts has the second longest average time to throw in the league. And then when you consider what Next Gen Stats calls extended dropbacks, so 4+ seconds of holding on to the ball, no one does that more than Jalen Hurts, and that results in just a ton of sacks. I think he took 5 sacks on extended dropbacks against the Rams in that game in the playoffs. So, just that kind of hero ball hold, try to create downfield doesn't work. You're not going to have enough time, especially against these second level, rushers. And when does that come, right? Like that's going to come on a key third down, or it's going to come late in the game in a spot where, they need to get into field goal range. And all of a sudden, he kicks them back and then you're sweating your longest field goal over under because, we're in that territory where, a 50 yarder's in play. Like that's going to be when he uses them. And it just is a matter of, can the Eagles diagnose that and get the ball out quickly? Because that's not something that Hurts does really well.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a good point. Yeah, it's like 44% completion rate, I think, under pressure this year, something like that, 4.9 yards per attempt.
It's not great.
And yeah, it's not very good. It's interesting. He's been fine against the blitz, but just terrible against pressure. So like, I think when there are designs and he knows where it's coming from, essentially, he can get it out. When he doesn't, which is a problem against Spags specifically, then it could be an issue, or just natural pressure and they like sit back essentially, which I mean, the Eagles or the Chiefs can do, but they also they blitz a lot. It was like 5th highest blitz rate, 4th highest pressure rate. So, yeah, we'll see on that. I mean, I don't have any too much more notes on that side of the ball outside of we took some Dallas Goedert overs early. AJ Brown.
Real early.
Yeah, real early. We got in good number 46. You
still got people out here touting, low 50s. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, I thought that was great. You looked at. I guess we can talk about more props on the Friday show because there's like some AJ Brown longest. I think could be interesting if it goes like we expect. I mean, it could naturally just get there. Just him being awesome. But if they do try and just send it, he's going to have at least 2-3 opportunities deep. So
that's all we need. That's the problem too, a little bit with Hurts this year. Part of it, the one reason that I think it's the right play. I think it's something I will play. I don't know if make it official or something like that, but I will play it. But the problem is that Hurts has not been aggressive in taking those opportunities this year. Then they're just their normal game script for the most part. And that might be different here, obviously, playing in the Super Bowl against top tier competition. Is they're so run heavy, and if he's not going to be conservative, and if they're in a spot where there's so few pass attempts in general, all of a sudden those can be thin at times, and they get real thin. Even thinner if you don't have many shots down the field. So I want to see him show a little bit of, I don't know if risk is the right thing to do, but holding on the ball, looking for the check down. No, take a shot. Let your playmakers win on the outside. And hopefully that's, 2 to 3 attempts to AJ Brown deep, right? So obviously those bets can win on intermediate throws and, things, get broken down, but he doesn't work over the middle of the field very much. And KC doesn't miss a lot of tackles, right? So it almost has to be a air yards, 25-yard throw, basically. Which, I don't love compared to some other, when you have outs on like, again, teams that aren't in the Super Bowl, but, like a Nico Collins longest, like that can get really high, but, he can run just a crosser, make a guy miss and take off, right? Like you don't have that as much with Hurts. Just doesn't love to work over the middle of the field.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That definitely makes sense.
Yep. All right. Other side of the ball. KC has the ball here. It's Mahomes. I think we both agree that, again, not breaking news. I think how Saquon does and how Mahomes does is such a massively impactful piece of this game. Because I don't think either of us think that this Kansas City offense is going to have much success or even really try that hard to dictate pace or try to establish the run here. Because I don't think it's going to go very well unless something that you've done in the last couple of days makes you think differently.
No, I mean, looks like my camera just came unplugged there, like mid thing. So now I'm like, looks like I'm in like a dungeon over here using my computer camera. Can you hear me still at least?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, well, as long as the mic sounds good, I'll keep rolling here. So I think that the running game is going to really struggle to succeed here. I mean, we're looking at Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has been kind of the main guy here the last couple of weeks. Much higher carry share. It was like 17-4 last week in carries. Kareem Hunt averaging just 3.6 something yards per carry. Pacheco since his injury 3.47, least explosive run rate in the league. Success rate has actually been fine, but I think that's just because they're, again, fine at getting 3 to 4 yards in high leverage situations. They're just not good at getting like 7-8 yards on first down or even 6-7 yards. I mean, like to put them in like a second and manageable. So I do think they're going to try and run a little bit, but I would bank on them probably trying to go with the short passing game a little bit more. And Mahomes going with kind of a higher volume passing game, which is interesting because the Eagles have allowed one of the lowest completion rates in the league, and they've played extremely well against most teams. But if you look at their current weakness, which is over the middle of the field, probably at this point, given how Fangio wants to play, given their outside corners of Quinyon Mitchell and Darius Slay playing well, their secondary is playing well. Cooper DeJean's done a really good job in the slot and, closer to line of scrimmage, but their linebacking core, has allowed some recent production to tight ends over the middle. And part of that's Oren Burks. We've talked about him a couple of times. But he's the backup for Nakobe Dean, linebacker there. So, I mean, this just leaves it like a really thin out for them to move the ball. So, like, you're telling me if you're looking at a weakness, like you're talking about one guy. I mean, basically Oren Burks. So you can't throw at him every play. I mean, they can try and probably win. I'd probably win a lot of props if they do. But you just can't move the ball like in one way. But I don't see like Hollywood or Xavier Worthy like winning is on the outside without like a ton of movement and stuff like that. Am I crazy? Or like what other ways are you envisioning the Chiefs move the ball well?
I'm not. This is the problem, right? Like we don't think they can necessarily stop Saquon, right? They can try. They're going to try. And then get on the other side, it's like, well, KC now has to play one-handed, essentially. Like they're probably going to have 18 to 22 fairly inefficient, less than 4 yards per carries, right? I'd imagine.
Yep.
It's going to keep them honest, I guess, is what you would say. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't, that's not really what we're at in the Super Bowl at this point. You're going to have inefficient, first down runs. I don't know. Now, again, this is the part where it's like, it's Patrick Mahomes. So you're going to tell me that you're just going to be like, hey, we're going to put it on the shoulder of Mahomes to, pick him apart, dink and dunk, find ways to keep the chain moving. They are, I think the dynamic's a little different as they've kind of had Worthy emerge and Hollywood Brown come back. But even so, like they still haven't been a team that's been like uber aggressive of even trying to create explosives. It's not been something that they've done this year at all. So like Mahomes has not been, doesn't really take shots. They've been significantly better at having the ball short, like in terms of EPA per play. Mahomes is 34th out of 36 qualifying quarterbacks on EPA on shots 20 yards deep down the field. But that's insane, right? Like It's like, oh, they got all the speed this year. It's going to be completely different. Obviously, Rashee Rice, losing him is a difference to what they would have. But like, it is. They're also 34th out of 36 in attempts, taking deep shots. 7% of his shots have been deep. That's in line with your boy Tua and Gardner Minshew. Shout out to Sheil Kabadia at the Ringer for that little nugget. Like, they just don't take shots deep either. So can they systematically get down the field with a really efficient high completion percentage attack? 1,000%. But I don't know. It's really hard when you can't take the top off, or you're really even no threat to do so. So I don't know. It's a tough one to handicap, because I'm terrified to not be on Mahomes. But I think it's really hard to break this game down, do matchup based analysis like this, and be like, yeah, I'm going to lay the 1.5 on the Chiefs. It's hard.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult, because like when you think about the offense, like we talked about it already, like they're with some of the positions, the outside receivers, like I think I would take the Eagles corners over the outside receivers all day. Whoever's playing outside, doesn't matter. Kelsey against the linebackers, like, I mean, sure, maybe they put DeJean on him, maybe Kelsey against the linebackers, but we've seen Vic Fangio do a really good job with like keeping Kelsey in place. Kelsey's had like 2 really good games against him, against like largely Fangio's mostly had like bad, like poor talent wise defenses with some of his stuff. And against those, like, he's had to deal with Tyreek Hill and Kelsey. And Kelsey's had like 2 awesome games over 100 yards. The rest of the games, it was like 30 yards basically for 4 of them. And then there was one other game that was 7 for 70 against Miami last year. But again, Miami's defense sucked. Like, they were just like a terrible defense. So like, and they had Rashee Rice. So again, it's like, I don't think we really have any like good comps for this of like, if Fangio wants to stop Kelsey, I'm pretty confident he can like stop Kelsey. Again, kind of like not on the same level of Saquon, because Kelsey's like a geriatric, and like, at this point he's just like old and kind of slow, but like he's like their consistent chain moving guy. I'm pretty confident that Fangio can figure out a way to kind of slow him down on the most part, or just like hold him to like 4 or 5 yard option routes basically. And he's just like, sitting in between his own, and that's it though, because he has a safety coming down over the top, because they're not worried about Mahomes chucking it to Worthy or anyone deep, like super deep. So I don't know. I think Worthy was supposed to be that, but it just like hasn't really clicked. Like they haven't had that type of, connection deep downfield. So
I think they have like one big play. It was early in the season. That was like a 40, 50 yard plus reception. Otherwise, it's been slow going. They've obviously got him involved a lot more, but it's not that way, right? It's not taking shots deep down the field. And anyway, Philadelphia, they've allowed the second lowest explosive play rate. So they don't give them up either, right? It's Fangio doesn't want, like, this is what he wants to do. Now, that's the good thing, right? Like, what he wants to do is what the Chiefs want to do anyway. So, that's kind of the case for it. But they're going to win occasionally with 4. That's all they're going to bring. They don't really blitz. This is the only thing, is kind of showing variations of that over time to Mahomes is probably a good idea, because if it looks the same all the time, they'll obviously find ways. There's obviously this unspoken connection that Kelsey and Mahomes have in zone looks to be able to, sit down in the zone the right way and find opportunities to get open, especially if that is, within the Oren Burks orbit of where he's supposed to be. I think that's probably a really good thing. But again, something else we touched on the show the other day, like the Cooper DeJean element is really, really important for Philadelphia, because, versus having like Avonte Maddox in there manning the slot, then all of a sudden, if you have a team that can run the football or wants to run the football, and you're in a sub package like that, you're in trouble, right? You can find ways to isolate something on the outside and basically force Avonte Maddox to fill the run. Well, Cooper DeJean can do that. He is, played a lot of box safety in college, is basically built like an undersized linebacker nowadays. Some of these just sideline to sideline linebackers. These are not your neck roll linebackers, of the late 80s, early 90s. This is a very different type of position these days. And you have a guy that can cover in the slot against Hollywood Brown. You can have him man up and play Travis Kelce. Or if they want to start to run, he just is a third linebacker, and you just slide him in there. You can do different things with Zach Bond, who's coming up as an edge rusher, put him on the edge, give an extra look on the line, and use DeJean in that way. Like, the defense is really good, and the guys that can execute the things that Fangio wants to do are all terrific at those things, breaking up those short screen passes, all those little quick hitters that the Chiefs love to do. This Eagles defense really good at doing those things. So, yeah, I mean, again, like you cannot be listening to me right now and be like, oh yeah, he's on the Chiefs. But I don't know what to do. It's the Super Bowl. I gotta bet it. It's the last game, right? It's the winter. We're not gonna have Super Bowl. We're not having football for 8 months.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Well, let me pull up Profit X here. By the way, Profit X is giving away a Rolex for any new customer who bets $100. It's a giveaway. You don't get a Rolex automatically, but like, pretty cool giveaway there. So, and they have some insane odds. Like KC money line is -107. As you can see, my little like green thing there, I just put $100 on it, or to win 100 on it. And so, I mean, it's down to -107. I think at that point, it's kind of fine. Under 48.5 is my lean as well. I think there are some scenarios where the game goes bonkers, but again, I just don't see the Chiefs moving the ball incredibly well. And I think that there's outs for the Eagles to not move the ball all that well either. So I'm thinking my final score prediction on the, in my write-up was like 24-21, which is crazy because that's actually like a fine game. Like that would be like, okay. And that's like still well under the total of 48.5 right now. So, a good field goal under. So, I don't know.
Well, did you sprinkle on the exact score? Because you put it out into the ether. You have to sprinkle on the exact score.
I started loading up my account, like one of my accounts here, because I don't know if ProfitX has live score specifically, but I started loading up my account to literally bet that right now because I was thinking about it. We have to go through like exact score and team right now because again, like if I predict 24-21 and I didn't bet it, I'm going to be really upset.
Yeah, can't let that happen again. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Profit X's ability to, manipulate lines too. You could see the liquidity here underneath things. It's obviously continuing to increase as we get closer, which is really nice to see as well. I'm kind of with you on leaning on the under on the game because I think you could still have, a good amount of scoring, but having the fact that I think that the Eagles could have success running and you just kind of dominate time of possession and take advantage of this game and shorten it for the Chiefs, shorten the amount of time that Mahomes has the ball, the amount of drives that they have. Again, I think that's, lots of outs here where you're still, sitting on, I think, the high side of key numbers, right? Like that's kind of where we're at. So that would be my lean as well. Just completely flummoxed on what to do with, side and total because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I might just bet Scotty Scheffler to win the waste management and parlay him with the Chiefs and then parlay him with the Eagles. And then I can just watch the Super Bowl, have a side both ways, a little bit of a juicy my Scotty bet, and then just cheer for all the props. So
love it.
Could be a fake celebrate the winner either way. Like, yeah, no, I got that ticket. I parlayed it with the golf that ended earlier. I parlayed it with that.
Yep.
Like, what? That's awesome. I'm like, yeah, no big deal. Like, it's fine.
I love it. Yeah. So Chiefs 24-21, 95-1 at Caesars. I didn't shop around for it, so probably could find a better price, but just tired of this, Grandpa. It's too many. It's too many different things over here. So like, it's just like shout out on Abated, by the way. They gave us like that Super Bowl odds prop screen, which helps. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, you heard it here first. 24-21 Chiefs, baby.
24-21 Chiefs. Okay. For the sake of it, I'm going to take the other side to do it. I will go 24-23 Eagles.
All right. I love it. That's I
hate. As a Patriots fan, I hate both of these teams so much. The Eagles robbed us of a Super Bowl. Clement was out of bounds on that one play that they gave him a touchdown on. Obviously, wish bad juju on the Chiefs dynasty as it gets compared to Tom Brady's dynasty. Tom Brady went into Arrowhead at late in his career and knocked off the number 1 seed Chiefs. Then goes to Tampa Bay as a dog and knocks off Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So stuff it if you want to talk to me about Mahomes over Brady stuff. I don't think they have any more head-to-head matchups, and Tommy got Mahomes a couple times. So
yeah, I think Mahomes would have to win a couple more to cement like a real argument, I think, over Brady. But I mean, I'm sure you looked at the trajectory more. I'm sure Mahomes is ahead at this age that Brady was. But
unbelievable. Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, it's similar greatness. It's just one of those inexplicable things that we can't really, we can't describe, and why they keep winning and how they keep winning and how it's going to look exactly. And, I learned my lesson last year where I felt like I had a great cap on the Niners, but apparently Kyle Shanahan didn't. So, and
Yeah.
still came close. It still came close to the end. And I think they could have won, but whatever.
It felt bad last year too, because I loved the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game against the Ravens, and then just didn't follow through with it in the Super Bowl, and gave it back on the Niners because I thought the Niners were the right side too. So,
yep.
They probably were. I think they still had they probably still were the right side in that game, and then just couldn't get it together and close. So, it's definitely something to be said for that too. I mean, you hate to boil it down to coach quarterback, but if you boil it down to coach quarterback, this is Chiefs minus 9.5. Right, like it's just massive edge. So, all right, you come back for the prop show unless you have anything else for the people. I think we're good.
No, that was it. Yeah, we got a bunch of props we're releasing. I've already released 6. I think you've released a bunch of tackles, maybe like 8 or something like that. And then we'll have it's gonna be the wildest, most fun prop show ever. We're gonna build some crazy, I think maybe multiple SGPs. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, probably just an SGP type of day. We'll do some other stuff too. I have some other one-offs that I think are book specific, unfortunately. So like I want to talk about them because I think they're really good plays, but they're hard to push out as official plays for subscribers because you just don't have multiple outs. And then I have one more that I'm waiting on some data on, stuff that I don't have access to, but tapped into a friend that I know has access to that data. So I think it could be a banger based off of my assumption. So we'll hopefully have that in time for the show tomorrow. So I look forward to that. So subscribe here, 4for4 bets in the YouTube channel. Move the line wherever you listen to podcasts. Come back Friday. It is going to be again 3 p.m. Eastern for the prop show. Myself, Connor, and Highslop, our last prop drop of the year. As far as move the line here, Connor and I will continue. We pretty much take a week or two off after the Super Bowl, but then we'll start to get into the off season, coaching changes, NFL draft coverage. We'll see what that looks like with us here in Illinois. They took away our draft betting ability. Maybe it comes back. I don't know. So we're pretty frustrated about that. But we'll be back on Friday for the last one. Yeah, but subscribe because again, hashtag no days off. We continue to grind football all year round here at 4for4. We don't want you to miss any of that. So for Connor, I'm Ryan. We'll see y'all on Friday. Thanks, everybody.